Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Param Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Tado Jayam Udirayet
Shrinvatam Swakatah Krishna
Srikatam Swakata Krishna
Yashravana Kirtana
Punyasravana Kirtanam
Vidyantasto Hyadadrani
Sridyantastuti Abhadrani
Vidhunoti Sahritsatam
Vidhanoti Saratsatam
Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu
Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya
Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttamasloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Nanda Gopakumaraya
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Yeah. Okay, so today we are beginning 13th chapter. To set some context, so in the 12th chapter, the Saunikad Rishis reminded Sutta Goswami about describing the pastimes of the birth activities as well as the passing away of Parikshit Maharaj, correct? So they reminded because there was some distraction, and Sutta Goswami talked about Lord's departure and all of the Dwarka pastimes, and now they reminded him back about talking about Parikshit Maharaj and the reason Bhagavatam was spoken, etc. So the story began with a description of again Parikshit Maharaj's birth and his activities, and then to give context about Parikshit Maharaj's activities, some more context has to be said, because before Parikshit Maharaj became the king, Yudhishthira Maharaj was the king, and so he has to talk about Yudhishthira Maharaj's departure, right? Only after Yudhishthira Maharaj departed, Parikshit Maharaj had started ruling, and even before Parikshit Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj departed, the Kurukshetra war happened, and before that, and after Kurukshetra war, Lord came and stayed for some time, and then Lord departed, and eventually Lord departed from the world. So all of those pastimes happened. So to set the context, so some more context about Dhṛtarāṣṭra quitting the home has to be mentioned, because until Dhṛtarāṣṭra quit, royally Yudhishthira Maharaj is not the king. So first he had to speak about how Dhṛtarāṣṭra quit the home. So that is the context for this chapter, right? Even for Dhṛtarāṣṭra quitting, what is the cause of Dhṛtarāṣṭra quitting? There was his brother Vidura who actually enlightened him to quit the home. So the context of Vidura coming and enlightening his brother Dhṛtarāṣṭra to quit the home, to spend his lifetime in renunciation and achieve back to go back to Godhead. So to set the context, some pastime about Vidura coming to Hastinapur should be mentioned. So all of this, actually, Bhagavatam is not chronological. This chapter has context set in 3rd and 4th canto as well as 11th canto. So how Vidura was enlightened? So that thing is again discussed in 11th canto, 3rd chapter. So after Lord went to Dwaraka, after some time, the demigods and Lord have a discussion about winding the pastimes of Lord, because the purpose for which he had come has been achieved. So it is time for Lord to go back to Goloka. So when Lord was about to depart, his good friend Uddhava, his childhood friend Uddhava, wanted to accompany, because he says, I cannot stay without you, so I'll join you and I'll come right away with you. To which Lord doesn't agree to that plan. And in Prabhasa Kshetra, Uddhava was instructed by Lord, on Uddhava Gita. There's a topic called Uddhava Gita, in which is a lot of discussions happen on many subjects. One of them is, an instruction to Uddhava. After Lord leaves, he asks Uddhava to visit Badrikashrama and send some message to Vyasadeva. So with that duty in mind, Uddhava stays back, even though Lord leaves to his abode. And when Uddhava and Lord were speaking, there is another rishi called by the name Maitreya, who happened to visit the same Prabhasa Kshetra at this time, who was a more of a Jnana Mishra Bhakta. So he also he overhears all the conversation between Uddhava and Lord Krishna. So all those topics were described in 3rd and 4th canto. Okay, and the context is, so this was the discussion, and Maitreya heard this. There was another story that happened before this. Before the war has begun, Duryodhana and his party were getting ready for the fight, and Dhṛtarāṣṭra, his father, was taking some counsel from different people. So he also inquired from Vidura. Vidura was a giving all his life for the welfare of Kuru dynasty. He is a Dasi Putra, brother of Dhṛtarāṣṭra. So he was invited to give some counsel to Dhṛtarāṣṭra, at which time he expressed, this war is all meaningless. It all happened because of your son Duryodhana. The first thing you should do is to get rid of this idiot. Otherwise, your whole dynasty will get bad name. That was the counsel Vidura gives. At which time Duryodhana comes by and overhears this, and he immediately says this Dasi Putra should not even stay at our home. He doesn't deserve to stay with us. He's a favorite of Pandavas, and he always sides with them. So we cannot even trust at this time of war, about to begin. So we should leave him only with breath, nothing else given to him. So Vidura doesn't, justify his position, this is the nature of devotees. When some calamity happens, and when they think it is not worth discussing because of the kind of personalities involved, he just quits the home and uses this time while the war was about to begin and war happens. During all this time, he's not even there. He was totally in pilgrimage, visiting various holy places. He happened to meet Uddhava, and when he meets Uddhava, he hears about Krishna's plan to depart. And Vidura was so impressed with Uddhava he wanted him to be his spiritual master. However, Uddhava says, I am too young. My father says, I cannot be your spiritual master. Instead, go and approach Maitreya Muni, who also heard all the lessons that Krishna has given me, who overheard by standing by the side. So you please approach Maitreya Muni, who is also staying nearby. And he leaves, from there, and then Vidura approaches Maitreya, and this becomes the conversation of third canto and fourth canto. There is a lot of conversation on various topics, creation and many other topics. And he also talks about, in fourth canto especially, there is a lot of discussion about great devotees. For example, especially how various kings have renounced towards their end of life without being attached too much to the family life. He talked about prachetas. Prachetas were the great children, great devotees who were children of Prachini Barhi. How prachetas left home at the right time, giving over the kingdom to his children. And then his father, Prachini Barhi, he also was very much attached person, but towards the end of life, Narada Muni comes and inspires him to completely give up everything, and he also renounces everything. Before that is Prithu Maharaj, who also renounces his towards the end of his life, gives up his kingdom. And before that there is Uttanupada, his father, right? Yeah. Uttanupada's history was also spoken. So a lot of kings who have given up their kingdom and renounced their life in pursuit of Supreme Lord. He hears all of this and he was like, what is my brother doing in in Hastinapur? He lost his children and simply wasting his life, last few years of his life. So he was inspired to come and inspire his brother to again renounce his life and give up attachments and at least towards the end of life perfect his life. So that was the context in which the current chapter is spoken. So this chapter has context from 11th canto where Uddhav Gita was there, and before that the third and fourth canto, the conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. We'll hear that in a lot of detail in the next lessons. So with all the context, now we can understand what is being spoken in this chapter. Okay. Now, is that clear? Any questions so far? Yeah. So Dhṛtarāṣṭra quits his home because until Dhṛtarāṣṭra quits, we cannot speak about Yudhishthira Maharaj's rulership, and then after which Parikshit Maharaj's rulership. So context has to be given. So this chapter is being spoken in between. Suta Uvacha. You can unmute yourself and read.
Suta
Suta
Vacha.
Vacha.
Vidurastirthayatrayam.
Vidurastirthayatrayam.
Maitreya Atmanogatim.
Atmanogatam.
Vagad Dhāstinapuram.
Dhṛtarāṣṭra.
Aya Vapta Vivitsita.
Visita. Sri Suta Goswami said, while traveling on a pilgrimage, Vidura received knowledge of the destination of the self from the great sage Maitreya and then returned to Hastinapura. He became as well versed in the subject as he desired.
Now very clear, right? So the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya is third and fourth canto. We are not going to discuss that. Now he received that knowledge and he want to share with his brother. So he returned to Hastinapur. Yeah, will not go into this one. Yeah. Yayata kritavan prasan prasnan
Yavat
Bhagavatam
Kritavan Prasna
shatta kausaravagrata
Shata Kausa Vagrata
jataika bhaktir govinde
Eka Bhakti
Govinde
yebhyas chopara ramaha.
Divyastopara Ramaha.
So one point to remember is, you see here, even though when Vidura was leaving the palace, insulted by Dhṛtarāṣṭra's son Duryodhana, at that time, Dhṛtarāṣṭra remained silent, unfortunately. He didn't offer any support to Vidura's position or no. He was living in a palace. Now he is left with nothing. He was discarded from this assembly, insulted. While all of this is happening, Dhṛtarāṣṭra remained silent. But after this enlightenment, he was so kind to actually come back and enlighten his brother. So that is the nature of a great devotee, right? Now he is a great devotee. He's still thinking about the welfare of his brother, even though he was not treated well on the other side, right? So a devotee doesn't consider, because he knows very well how ignorant is his brother. So there is no point in beating around the bush. So he still want to do whatever he can in terms of good to the others, right? Yeah, please read, Prabhu, once again.
After asking various questions and becoming established in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna, Vidura retired from putting questions to Maitreya Muni.
So there was a lot of discussion in third and fourth canto. He is very clear with all the knowledge he received from his spiritual master, Maitreya Muni. Now he want to act on the knowledge that he received. So he want to help others. He's a great devotee. Right? Please read.
Vidura retired from putting questions before Maitreya Muni when he was convinced by Maitreya Rishi that the summum bonum of life is to be finally situated in the transcendental loving service of Lord Shri Krishna, who is Govinda, or one who satisfies his devotees in all respects. The conditioned soul, the living being in material existence, seeks happiness by employing his senses in the modes of materialism, but that cannot give him satisfaction. He then searches after the supreme truth by the empiric, philosophic, speculative method and intellectual feats.
Please continue.
But if he does not find the ultimate goal, he again goes down to material activities and engages himself in various philanthropic and altruistic works, which all fail to give him satisfaction.
Whatever activities one may be engaged, other than pure devotion service, it does not really satisfy the heart. Whether you engage in various other yogas or not, because only it is bhakti through which the heart can be satisfied. Because in the heart, Paramatma, the personality of Godhead, is there in the form of Paramatma. Until he is satisfied, you cannot be satisfied. So any other process you take, it doesn't truly satisfy the soul. Yeah. So Vidura was enlightened by his spiritual master Maitreya, and he was totally satisfied with the knowledge he received. Yeah, please read.
Like Vidura, an inquisitive, conditioned soul must approach a bona fide spiritual master like Maitreya and by intelligent inquiries must try to know everything about karma, fruitive activities, jnana, philosophical research for the supreme truth, and yoga, the linking process of spiritual realization. One who is not seriously inclined to put questions before a spiritual master need not accommodate a show bottle spiritual master, nor should a person who may be a spiritual master for others pose to be so if he is unable to engage his disciple ultimately in the transcendental loving service of Lord Shri Krishna. Vidura was successful in approaching such a spiritual master like Maitreya, and he got the ultimate goal of life, bhakti, unto Govinda. Thus, there was some nothing to be known further about spiritual progress.
So it is mentioned, bhakti is like fire. Okay. So when, for example, when a person's fire of hunger is strong, you have very strong hunger, you don't need any other digestive herbs to actually digest food. You don't need to take any other, because your power itself is very strong, digestive power. So similarly, when the fire of bhakti is very strong in a soul, in a jiva, he doesn't need any other processes like jnana or karma to improvise his his connectivity, or his connection to the absolute truth. So the fire of bhakti in itself is a complete solution. He doesn't need any other mixers or additions. Yeah. So because he approached a bona fide spiritual master and he was enlightened, now he is ready to go and help others. There is nothing further to be known. Yeah. Tam bandhum agatam drishtva
Tam bandhum
Bandham
agatam drishpa
dharmaputra sahanuja
Dharmaputra Sahanuja
Dhṛtarāṣṭra yuyutsascha
Dhṛtarāṣṭra Yuyutsascha
Suta Saravata Prata
Sudha Sarvata Prata
Gandhari Draupadi Brahman
Gandhari Draupadi Brahman
Subhadra Chottara Kripi
Subhadra
Chottara Kripi
Anyascha Jamaya Pandor
Anyasya
Jamaya
Pandor
Nataya Susuta Sriya.
Nataya
Nataya Sasya
Yeah, please read.
When they saw Vidura return to the palace, all inhabitants, Maharaja, Yudhishthira, his younger brothers, Dhṛtarāṣṭra, Satyaki, Sanjaya, Upacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of Kauravas and other ladies with the children, all handed to him in great delight. It is so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period.
Interestingly, see, Vidura just reached because he was in pilgrimage throughout the Kurukshetra war. Now he returned after many months. And everybody was very, very happy and delighted to receive him. It is because of the nature of a pure devotee. For example, if a great devotee visits our temple, we are extremely delighted. Why? Because in their heart they carry the Supreme Lord. Lord is very active in their life because of their dependence and surrender. Naturally, it is as good as Lord visiting, because by serving them, we can experience the service of Lord. And when service of Lord is purified in a pure way, the heart is fully satisfied. Right? Ahaituki apratihata yayatmasu prasidate. Second chapter, first canto. Ahaituki. Ahaituki means without any selfish motive. Apratihata, without any interruption. When one performs apratihata, yayatmasu prasidati, means the soul is completely satisfied. When we perform bhakti without any expectation, without any interruption, continuously, then the soul is going to be 100% satisfied. If you do any service, In this way, you must be satisfied. If you are not, it means that there is some ulterior motive or some motivation or something is wrong in the way you perform service. That is the greatness of bhakti. If anybody performs devotion service sincerely without any ulterior motive, only for the satisfaction of Krishna, you must be satisfied by definition. If you are not receiving satisfaction, if you are not feeling encouraged or inspired, there is something going on, right? So here we can see, because this great devotee Vidura king, it is all because of his devotion. It's not about his family relation or anything. It's because he is a great devotee. Now when he is back, everybody was so happy to receive, because he was well-wisher of everybody. A devotee is a well-wisher. And whatever he speaks or whatever he gives or whatever he talks is for the well-being, and they all are going to benefit from his association, right? So they were all happy to receive him because he was well-wisher for all. In the purport, the personality is described here, right? So all of that was described by Prabhupada. So you can all read later. Dhṛtarāṣṭra, Gandhari, Draupadi. Prachujjagmu praharsena
Pratyujjagamu Sena
pranam tanva ivagatam
Pranam tanva
abhisangamya vidhivat
Sangamya
parisvagabhivadanai. Please read.
With great delight, they all approached him as if life had returned to their bodies. They exchanged senses and welcomed each other with embraces.
So everyone, they all very happily received each other.
In the absence of consciousness, the limbs of the body remain inactive, but when consciousness returns, the limbs and senses become active, and existence itself becomes delightful. Vidura was so dear to the members of the Kaurava family that his long absence from the place was comparable to inactivity. All of them were feeling acute separation from Vidura, and therefore his return to the palace was joyful for all.
Mumuchu prema bhaspaugham
Mumuchu prema vaspaugham
virahaut kantya katara
Viraho
Katara
ajatam arhayam chakre
Sajatam Aryam
Arhayam
Chakre
Chakre
kritasana parigraham
Kritasana
Vigraham.
Due to anxieties and long separation, they all cried out of affection. King Yudhishthira then arranged to offer sitting accommodations and a reception.
See how affectionate they are to each other. So they are all crying out of affection. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, a great host, had in this his reception. Tam bhuktva vantam vishrantam
Tambhuktavantam Vishrantam
asinam sukamasane
Ashinam Sukamashani
Rasrayanvato Raja
Prashrayavantana Raja
Rahatesham cha Shinvatam.
Prahatesham Chashrinvatam.
Yeah. Let's read this. Yeah, please read.
After Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened.
Yeah.
King Yudhishthir was expert in reception also, even in the case of his family members. Vidura was well received by all the family members by exchange of embraces and obeisances.
So, so I generally highlight some lines. Otherwise, I'll just explain quickly. So after Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened. So Vidura, because he was out for a long time, he was not, taking care of his body very well. So he was, he was received very nicely by the family. He was fed nice prasadam and took some rest. And after all of that, after he was, sufficiently restored, king started inquiring. Who is the king here? Yudhishthira Maharaj. So he will inquire about everything that he has, Vidura has experienced over the last few months. So that is the way of dealing with a relative, right? So first take care of them, their physical needs, rest, and they rested. And now Yudhishthira Maharaj is lovingly inquiring from Vidura about well-being of all the family members, other relatives in various other countries. Yeah. Yudhishthira Uvacha
Yudhishthira
Apismaratha na Yushmat
Api samartha yasmat
Akshachaya Samedhitam
pakshachaya sameditan
Padganat Visagneya Jnade
vipatgana
Mochitaya Sama
mochitayat samaputraha.
Please read.
Maharaj Yudhishthira said, "My uncle, do not remember how you always protected us, along with our mother, from all sorts of calamities. Your partiality, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson."
Kunti Maharani and her sons, especially when they were young, they were not properly sheltered under Dhṛtarāṣṭra. There were so many attempts by the evil sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra to kill Pandavas and his mother. But Vidura was a constant supporter of Kunti Maharani and her children. So he was like, he was their shelter, especially when they were very young, when they were not built properly. So he offered a lot of support, and because he was a devotee. Naturally, a devotee is very compassionate. So he was taking care of them very well. So he was expressing his gratitude in this way, Maharaj Yudhishthira. Yeah. See, before the battle of Kurukshetra, Dhṛtarāṣṭra's policy was peaceful annihilation of his nephews. See, that is what he was trying to kill in various ways, right? Anyway, therefore he ordered Purochana to build a house of lac at Varanavata. And when the building was finished, Dhṛtarāṣṭra desired that his brother's family live there for some time. When Pandavas were going there in the presence of all the members of the royal family, Vidura tactfully gave instructions to Pandavas about the future plan of Dhṛtarāṣṭra. See, so he's so evil-minded, Dhṛtarāṣṭra, all because of association of his evil son, Duryodhana, right? It was described. So in all these calamities, Vidura was protective, right? So he how Vidura protected was mentioned here. You can all read. Yeah. Yeah, any questions so far?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, why it was listed that Kaurava are near to Vidura?
How Kaurava? Oh, because he, Vidura was, is like brother of Dhṛtarāṣṭra. He's a younger brother, right? So he was basically overseeing, some of the portfolios within under Dhṛtarāṣṭra. Naturally, he's overseeing the welfare of the entire country, and he's close to both Kauravas as well as Pandavas. When Kauravas were not acting, he was chastising them, but he was treating them as children. He was treating everybody as children. These are naughty children and these are good children, like Pandavas. He was partial to Pandavas because they don't have any father, they don't have support system well, and they are all rightful from the very childhood. So he was naturally more partial towards them, but overall he was he was taking care of the entire Kuru dynasty and was supportive to both Pandavas as well as Kauravas. But at the right time, he instructed Dhṛtarāṣṭra that your son is the real cause of all problems. You should banish him, reject him. Otherwise, who would want to be inimical to Krishna? He instructs all of that. We'll read that in I think 4th canto. He was there, he was near to them, but doesn't mean that he's favorable to them.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Kaya vritya vartitam vas.
Kaya vritta vartitam vas.
Charabdhi kshiti mandalam.
Mandalam.
Tirthani kshetra mukhyani.
Kshetra mukhyani.
Sevitani ha bhutale.
Sevitani bhutale.
First he inquires about basic things. Yudhishthira Maharaj was inquiring from Vidura. Yeah, go ahead.
While traveling on the surface of the earth, how did you maintain your livelihood? At which holy places and pilgrimage sites did you render service?
So he was asking about the pilgrimage tour of Vidura. How did you eat and how did what services did you perform? Because Vidura was going all by himself. So he must be living in some temples, eating some prasadam here and there, just depending on nature. So he was asking how he was living. Bhavatvidha Bhagavatas.
Bhavatvida Bhagavatas.
Bhuta Swayam Vibho.
Bhuta Swayam Vibho.
Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani.
Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani.
Swantastena Gadabhrata.
Swantastena Gadabhrata.
This is a beautiful verse describing the glories of a devotee, pure devotee. Okay, this is a verse to memorize. If you are going to Bhakti test, this is a verse to memorize. Bhavad Vidha Bhagavatas, right? Bhagavata means a pure devotee, right? So now he's glorifying this devotee Vidura. What is their nature? Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho. Tirtha Bhuta, Tirtha means holy places, right? So you make the holy place holy. That is what he's saying, right? Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. Make into a holy place. What the pilgrimage itself is made holy by the presence of a great devotee like you. Swantastena Gadabhrata, right? Why? Because you carry the Lord within your heart. Wherever you go, that place becomes actually holy. It is not that the holy place is glorious and you go there. It is because of people like you, the great devotees like you, though everywhere you go actually becomes holy. Right? This is what even Advaita Acharya tells to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya inquires from Advaita Acharya, am I in Vrindavana? Already Nityananda Prabhu misdirected him, and he is in Shantipur. And Advaita Acharya tells him, Prabhu, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan, because you carry Lord in your heart. For Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Lord himself. But the point is, Lord is completely activated in the life of a pure devotee. And wherever he walks, that place becomes pilgrimage site. Right? That is the reason when we go to a pilgrimage site, we cannot perceive Lord there. Only through the mouths of great devotees can we understand the glory of that site. Right? When we hear the words emanating from a pure devotee residing in the holy place, can we understand and perceive the existence of Lord? So it is not as much important to visit holy place and taking bath. That is not really, because your consciousness doesn't match that place. That place is great. Lord has performed pastimes, but what is your capacity to experience it? We don't have that capacity. So it is more important to associate with a great devotee whose bhakti is completely, expressed in his words. Right? So there is a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam. Sauttama shloka mahan mukhachuto bhavat padambo jasutakananila smitir punar vismita tattvavatmanam kuyoginamna vitarati alamvarai. My dear Lord, you are glorified by the select verses uttered by the great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee. What does this mean? A great devotee speaks about Lord in the choicest words expressed from his heart. What is there in his heart? The full personification of Lord. Lord is there right in their heart. So when Lord is there, and when the pure devotee utters a word about the Lord, the saffron means the golden effulgence that is present within the heart of the pure devotee emanates from the mouths of such devotee. Right? So that is the saffron particles that is spoken here. When that saffron particles slowly enter our ears, directly emanating from the heart of the pure devotee who has Lord's presence fully invoked, that touches our heart when we hear such glorification, and it completely nurtures our soul, and we start understanding our relationship with the Lord, and then we want to hear more and more from such devotee. Right? So then we come to the right conclusion about the value of life. That is how hearing works. It is because the pure devotees' words completely bring the presence of Lord in our life. Right? Because of their purity and their consciousness, that brings in a lot of clarity about about the presence of Lord in our heart. Yeah. So please read this translation.
My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Sorry, Prabhuji. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all your places into places of pilgrimage.
Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage. Wherever you walk, wherever you talk, that place becomes, because Lord is carried in your heart, right? This is the reason. Why is Narada Muni called Bhagavan? Narada Muni is also called Bhagavan because Lord is fully present in his life, meaning whatever he speaks, whatever he hears, whatever he talks, whatever activities he performs, is all completely inspired by Lord. So he is also called Bhagavan because the presence of Lord can be 100% perceived in his life. He is, right? So even a great devotee can be called a Bhagavan when full presence of Lord is there in his life, right? Yeah, please read.
The personality of Godhead is omnipresent by his diverse potencies everywhere, just as the power of electricity is distributed everywhere within space.
Yeah,
Similarly,
electricity is everywhere. Where is electricity? Everywhere is electricity. But to conduct the electricity, you need a wire, right? Then you can, if you touch the wire, or you have a bulb, you can experience the presence of electric power, right? So similarly, God is everywhere, but we cannot perceive. We need a pure devotee to perceive Lord, because pure devotees are like that, bulbs, electric bulbs, and they actually completely show the presence of electricity. So similarly, pure devotee can show the presence of Supreme Lord in their life to us. Then we can understand actually the presence of Lord, right? Yeah, go ahead, continue.
Very nice analogy, Prabhuji.
Yeah, absolutely.
Similarly, the Lord's omnipresence is perceived and manifested by his unalloyed devotees like Vidura, just as electricity is manifested in an electric bulb. A pure devotee like Vidura always feels the presence of Lord everywhere. He sees everything in the potency of the Lord and Lord in everything. The holy places all over the earth are meant for purifying the polluted consciousness of the human being by an atmosphere surcharged with the presence of Lord's unalloyed devotees. If anyone visits a holy place, he must search out the pure devotees residing in such holy places, take lessons from them, try to apply such instructions in practical life, and thus gradually prepare oneself for the ultimate salvation, going back to Godhead.
So very clear, right? So it's not about visiting a holy place. If we have no plan to meet a great devotee and hear from them, we should actually search out for the pure devotees in our life. That is what is going to do any good for us, right? Take lessons from them, try to apply such instructions in practical life, thus gradually prepare oneself for ultimate salvation. Because in their association, the presence of Lord is very evident, very clear. We don't need to make a lot of effort. So the only thing as desired by here, right? So in this prayer, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee. So that is the only thing we need. Because a pure devotee from him we can clearly see the presence of Lord, right? And we can experience the love of God, everything. So this is the only thing we should seek as benediction in our life. That is because that is going to give the best in our life. Yeah, let's skip this. Yeah, please read this one.
So by their actions, the pure devotees of the Lord can render any place into a place of pilgrimage, and the holy places are worth the name only on their account. Such pure devotees are able to rectify the polluted atmosphere of any place.
Pure devotee, wherever they are, like, touchstone. Wherever they are present, that whole place is purified. Just like wherever sun is there, immediately all the dirt will vanquish, right? So similarly, the pure devotee, whatever, for example, take Srila Prabhupada. He went into the suburbs of the worst place in New York, right? And where there are hippies who are both physically and mentally unclean. But what did you do with all of them? He converted them into, high standard Vaishnavas who have dedicated their life for propagating the mission of Lord, right? So that is the touchstone work that a pure devotee can accomplish. They can transform the lives of people. Yeah. So such pure devotees are able to rectify the polluted atmosphere of any place. That is their potency. Apina suhridastata
Apina surdastata
bandhava Krishna devata
Bandhava Krishna Devata
ashrita sruta va yadava
Shruta Shrutava Yadava
swapuryam sukham asate.
Swapuryam Sukham Asate.
Yeah. Is it?
My uncle, you must have visited Dwarka. In that holy place are our friends and well-wishers, the descendants of Yadu, who are always wrapped in the service of the Lord Sri Krishna. You might have seen them or heard about them. Are they all living happily in their abodes?
See, Yudhishthira's mind is always where? With Krishna. That is how devotees are, right? Bandhava Krishna Devata. Drishta Shruta Ya Va Yadava. So he was inquiring about Krishna and Yadavas, right? This descendants of Yadu, right? Who are always wrapped in the service of Lord Krishna. Right? Might have seen them. See, he was just inquiring about Krishna and Yadu dynasty. By this time already, Krishna actually departed the world, but Pandavas were not aware of it. So they were inquiring from. But how did Vidura know about this? Any clues from based on what he discussed so far, especially in the beginning? How did Vidura come to know about the departure of Lord Krishna?
By the Rishi.
By the Rishi? No, not by Rishi actually. Before that, Uddhava, right? Uddhava spoke to him. Uddhava directed him to visit right? Visit Maitreya, right? So Uddhava already told about the plan of the Lord, that Lord wants to leave the abode. Not plan, actually by the time it is already done. Lord left the world, and there was this pastime of at Prabhasa Kshetra, where all the Yadus drank wine, and there is this Mausala pastime that was planned. It was all plan of the Lord himself, because he doesn't want Yadus to remain after he leaves the planet. He wanted to take everybody back to Godhead. So there was some fight between Yadus, and they all killed each other. So everybody is gone. Lord, towards the end, after all of this happened, Lord also departs by sitting on a tree. So all of that happened. But anyway, so here Yudhishthira Maharaj was inquiring about the welfare of Krishna and Yadus from Vidura. Yeah.
Vidura left home in order to devote himself completely to the service of the Lord. But the Pandavas and the Yadavas were always wrapped in the thought of Lord Krishna. Thus, there is no difference in their pure devotional qualities, either remaining at home or leaving home. The real qualification of a pure devotee is to become wrapped in the thought of Krishna favorably.
So Vidura is a renunciant. He already gave up family life and he was renounced. He's in renounced order. While Pandavas were living with their family and taking care of the kingdom, but both of them were always wrapped in the thought of Lord Krishna. That is the most important thing. So that is the real qualification of a pure devotee. Yeah, it's the same thing. Iti ukto dharma rajena
Ityukto dharma rajena
sarvam tat samavarnayat
sarvam tat samavarnayat
yatanubhutam kramaso
Yathanubhutam kramaso
kramaso
yadukulakshayam.
vinayadu
kulakshayam.
kulashayam.
Please read.
Thus, being questioned by Maharaja Yudhishthira, Mahatma Vidura gradually described everything he had personally experienced except news of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty.
So, Maharaj Yudhishthira, Vidura, Mahatma Vidura he's called. He's a great personality. He's also a great devotee. So he described everything that he's experienced except for the news of annihilation of Yadu dynasty. Because he knows very well how Pandavas were very, very attached to Lord Krishna. So he was considerate that they may undergo big shock if he's going to reveal about the annihilation of Yadu dynasty and departure of Lord Krishna to his abode. So he didn't reveal that one secret. I mean, he knows that eventually it will be known because Arjuna is going to, reveal that. But for now, he just doesn't want to speak right away at this point. Because the other point is, his purpose is very clear. He wants to first focus on enlightening his brother, who is still attached and staying back at home. So he wants to focus on his main mission and not be explain this painful news to Pandavas. So that is nature of a pure devotee. I mean, they're always empathetic, meaning they always are considerate about the feelings of others. When Satyam vacha, priyam vacha. Like you have to speak as sweet as possible as you can. Okay? Harsh speech is never recommended in scriptures. Nanva priyam durvisaham.
Nanva priyam durvisaham.
Nrinam swayam upastitam.
Nrinam swayam upastitam.
Navedayat sakaruno.
Navedayat sakaruno.
Drashtum akshama.
Dukhitan drashtum akshama. Compassionate Mahatma Vidura could not stand to see the Pandavas distressed at any time. Therefore, he did not disclose this unpalatable, unbearable incident because calamities come of their own accord.
So he is very compassionate soul, Mahatma. So he can never see Pandavas distressed because of his love for them. So he didn't want to disclose the unpalatable and unbearable incident because calamities come of their own accord. Calamities come, you cannot control what happens in our life or in somebody's life. So why he doesn't want to become the instrument of sharing this calamitous news? Yeah. Yeah, please read this.
According to Dhṛtarāṣṭra, civic clause, one should not speak an unpalatable truth to cause distress to others. Distress comes upon us in its own way by the laws of nature, so one should not aggravate it by propaganda. For a compassionate soul like Vidura, especially in his dealings with the beloved Pandavas, it was almost impossible to disclose an unpalatable piece of news like the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty. Therefore, he purposefully refrained from it.
So calamities come on their own accord in material world. And by the laws of nature, everybody will suffer their reactions. Everybody suffers. There is no need to aggravate by speaking about it further. Right? For example, in today's world, people speak negative about others and cause further distress to by negligent or unpalatable words to others. Anyway, by its nature, material world is designed to give pain. There is no need to aggravate it further by harsh speech or unkind words to others. Right? So, in due course of time, Vidura knows that Pandavas will learn about this whole incident, Pravas Kshetra, Lord's departure. Anyway, why should I speak about this right now? Because anyway, it will be revealed in time. Kanchit kalam atha what's
Kalam
Kanchit kalam atha vatsit
Sakrito devatat sukham
sakrito devavat sukham
Bhratur jeshtaya Shreyaskrit
Dhṛtarāṣṭra Shreyaskrit
Sarvesham Sukhamavaham.
Sarvesham Sukhamavaham.
Please read.
Thus, Mahatma Vidura, being treated just like a holy person by his kinsman, remained there for a certain period just to rectify the mentality of his eldest brother and in this way bring happiness to all the others.
So, devotees do not visit any place just for some good treatment or some experiencing some pleasantries. They actually are there to enlighten others. So in this case, Vidura is trying to enlighten and cure the mentality of his elder brother. Because such speech is very beneficial to everybody because it is about the Lord and the purpose of life. So it brings happiness to everybody. So that's what is mentioned at the last line here. Yeah. Bhratrur Jeshtasya Jeshtasya Shreyaskrit. Shreyaskrit means for the well-being. So his only purpose is to help his brother, even though he was not treated well by him.
He accepted out of his own mercy what was offered to him by Maharaja Yudhishthira, but the purpose of living in the place was to deliver his elder brother Dhṛtarāṣṭra, who was too much materially attached. Dhṛtarāṣṭra lost all his state and descendants in the fights in fight with Maharaja Yudhishthira, and still due to his sense of helplessness, he did not feel ashamed to accept the charity of and hospitality of Maharaja Yudhishthira. He particularly came to enlighten Dhṛtarāṣṭra and to give him a lift to the higher status of spiritual cognition. It is the duty of enlightened soul to deliver the fallen ones, and Vidura came for that reason. The message should be heard attentively, and if spoken by a realized soul, it will act on the dormant heart of the conditioned soul. And by continuously hearing, one can attain the perfect stage of self-realization.
So here Vidura was speaking and Dhṛtarāṣṭra was hearing. Until now, there was this family, Duryodhana and all the other brothers of, Duryodhana were there. So he was not, even though he was getting some good counsel sometimes, he was, due to his attachment to his sons, he was not able to receive it properly. But now everybody is gone. He has nothing to feel proud about. Now he is getting the message clearly. Message should be heard attentively and if spoken by the. So it is now working on his heart. The message spoken by Vidura. Abhibhrat Aryama Dandam
Abhibhratyamah
Yatavad Agakarishu
Yathavat
Akarishu
Yavad Dadhara Sudratvam
Yavad Vidhara Sudratvam
Sripad Varsha Samam Yama Satam Yama
Sapad Satam Yama.
Yeah, please read.
As long as Vidura played the part of a Shudra, being cursed by Manduka Muni, Aryama officiated at the post of Yamraj to punish those who committed sinful acts.
So, Vidura in the current life, he was, he was a Sudra, but actually this Sudra was because he was cursed by Manduka Muni in his previous life. I mean, Manduka Muni at the time he cursed Yamaraj, who was actually, the personality taking care of dharma and, punishing people for sinful reactions, right? Sinful activities. So the same Yamaraj came as Vidura, who is now, born in a Sudra family because of the curse of Manduka Muni. Yeah, so in a way, he is a Sudra, and because of his mother. However, he is now instructing Kshatriya, who is Dhṛtarāṣṭra. One may wonder whether he is really qualified to speak to a Brahmana and teach him. But actually, the real qualification is one's devotion, right? One's surrender to Lord. That is the real measure. So it doesn't matter whether he's born in Sudra or higher plant or higher birth or lower birth. Please read.
Then who could he occupy the post of a preacher to instruct such learned kings and Kshatriyas as Dhṛtarāṣṭra and Maharaj Yudhishthira? The first answer is that even though it is accepted that he was a Shudra by birth, because he renounced the world for spiritual enlightenment by the authority of Rishi Maitreya.
He was thoroughly educated by him. So he was educated by a Brahmana, right? One's qualities are known by one's nature. He's a Brahmanical nature, even though he is in a Sudra body, because he submitted himself to Maitreya and he learned from him as a student and was thoroughly educated by him in transcendental knowledge. He's quite competent to occupy the post of an Acharya or spiritual preceptor. Vidura is quite qualified now because of his connection with his spiritual master. The other is that Vidura was not actually Sudra. He was a play. He was to play the part of a so-called Sudra for 100 years, being cursed by Manduka Muni. He was the incarnation of Yamaraj, one of the 12 Mahajanas on the level with which exalted personalities of Brahma, Narayana, Shiva, Kapila, Bhishma, Prahlada, etc. Being a Mahajana, it is duty of Yamaraj to preach the cult of devotion to the people of the world. Right? So now he is Yamadharmaraja teaches, he is the protector of Dharma in this world. So he is naturally inclined to preach the cult of devotion. Now in the form of right, Vidura, he is doing the same thing. Yeah. Let's complete 2 more verses, or maybe we should end here. We'll continue from next week. 15 verses we covered. Okay. Yeah. Any questions on what we discussed so far?
We were mentioning somewhere, it's not a question, I'm just sharing something I learned. So you were sharing bhakti as a fire, right? In the devotees. So I was hearing a lecture yesterday, and they were saying, how should a bhakti be? Bhakti should be is the bhakti should be like cilantro that you put it in the lentils. You know, yeah, like from you just put from above to give the fragrance, or it should be like a salt, which is, you know, going in the lentils like that. So I really like that example. Just wanted to share. So yeah.
Very well. Fantastic, Madhuri.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll end the class here. I'll share the recording. By the way, any of you want to restart the exam?
Yes, Prabhu.